What happens when two of Korea's most beloved stars share a kiss so electrifying it seems to stop time itself? In Hotter Than Ever, Lee Dong-wook and Lee Sung-kyung's time-stopping kiss, fans are shocked. The moment has left social media ablaze, hearts racing, and fans begging for more. Join Red Carpet Revealed as we dive into every detail, uncover the behind-the-scenes truth, and explore why this kiss has become the most talked-about moment of the year. The night air outside the SBS Drama Awards shimmered with a kind of electricity that no camera could truly capture. Fans had been lining the velvet barricade since morning, their breath clouding in the cool Seoul evening, hands clutching banners and light sticks, scanning every arriving black car for that one glimpse of their favorite stars. Inside, the grand ballroom glowed in a golden hue, chandeliers catching the sparkle of sequined gowns, the deep sheen of tailored tuxedos. But even in this sea of glamour, the atmosphere carried a subtle hum, a shared unspoken anticipation that something, or someone, was going to steal the night. Lee Dong-wook had always carried himself like the embodiment of the word effortless. From the moment he stepped onto the red carpet, the press pit erupted, snapping in a frenzied rhythm. His black velvet suit fit him like it was sewn by a whisper, in collar giving just a hint of rebellion against the formalities of the evening. His stride was unhurried, but his eyes, sharp, thoughtful, moved with purpose, scanning the crowd, pausing here and there for the perfect angle. Each flash reflected in the deep brown of his gaze, as if the world's attention was his natural state. And then she arrived. Lee Sung-kyung, in a gown of soft champagne silk that clung and flowed in equal measure, seemed to float rather than walk. The train of her dress trailed like a sigh, and the beading along her neckline caught the light in a way that made her seem almost unreal. She was no stranger to attention. Yet tonight there was something different in the way she carried herself, a delicate tension in her smile, a sparkle in her eyes that hinted at more than just the honor of being nominated. Her every step drew a new murmur from the crowd, her name rolling off the tongues of fans like a prayer. They met just inside the arch of the entranceway. A brief exchange, a polite bow, a warm but restrained smile, set off a cascade of camera clicks. It was the kind of moment fans would normally savor. Pairing of two top stars in a single frame. But this was only the opening scene of something far more extraordinary. As the evening progressed, both stars took to the stage at different moments. Lee Dong-wook presented an award for Best Supporting Actress, his voice smooth, his expression attentive. Lee Sung-kyung accepted the award for Best Couple in a Drama, smiling wide and thanking her co-stars with practiced grace. All the while, subtle interactions began to weave between them, a fleeting glance across the stage, a shared laugh during a backstage clip played on the big screen, a camera catching their profiles angled toward each other during a group photo. By the time the final award of the night approached, the tension had reached an almost unbearable pitch. The hosts announced a special segment honoring iconic on-screen moments of the year, complete with a live reenactment of scenes that had left audiences breathless. And then the screen behind them lit up with familiar stills, images of Lee Dong-wook and Lee Sung-kyung from their drama together earlier that year, each frame a lesson in chemistry. The audience roared. When they walked back onto the stage together, something in the air shifted. He took her hand, guiding her to the center as if the rest of the world had faded away. She tilted her head toward him, a playful smile curving her lips. But there was a tremor there too, a thrill, maybe, or something deeper. The set around them had been transformed into a replica of their drama's final scene, a dimly lit cafe. Rain streaking the faux window panes, a piano softly playing in the background. Then, the moment. They stood close enough that their breaths mingled in the warm stage lights. Lee Dong-wook brushed an imaginary speck from her hair, his hand lingering just a fraction longer than protocol would dictate. Her eyes lifted to meet his, and for a beat, simply looked at each other, as if weighing the next step, as if the decision might alter the trajectory of everything they knew. And in. She didn't step back. The kiss began not with the sudden hunger of a scripted moment, but with a slow inevitability, as if every second leading to it had been pulling them together like the tide to shore. The crowd's collective inhale was audible, the sound system even seemed to hush, leaving only the faint music and the pounding of 1,000 hearts. His hand cupped her jaw, her fingers curled lightly at his chest. Then, lips met lips, soft at first, then deepening just enough to blur the line between acting and truth. It couldn't have lasted more than a few seconds. That pocket of time. The world outside the stage dissolved. There was no ballroom, no cameras, no audience, only them. When they finally drew back, they didn't immediately break eye contact. She laughed softly, almost shyly. And he offered that half smile that had made entire dramas worth watching. Somewhere off to the side, the host's voice cracked slightly as they tried to continue with the program. The audience erupted into applause, whistles, and a rising chant of both their names. Within minutes, social media was in a frenzy. Of the kiss were posted before the final award was even presented. Fans from Seoul to Sao Paulo were typing in all caps. Hashtags blooming like wildfire, time stop kiss. Wook Kyung, drama come to life. This had not only stopped time in the ballroom, it had frozen the internet for a glorious, breathless moment. As the event wound down, they made their way backstage. Paparazzi cameras tried to catch every angle. But what intrigued fans most were the whispers from those who'd been there, that their smiles afterward were too unguarded to be rehearsed. That the way his hand lingered at the small of her back as they exited wasn't something you could fake. The question hanging in the air was inevitable. Merely a perfectly executed performance for the fans. The line between fiction and reality blurred in a way that neither was quite ready to admit. The answer, for now, remained tantalizingly out of reach. The next morning, the kiss had exploded into an international headline. Entertainment news programs replayed the moment in slow motion, complete with analysis from body language experts. How his shoulders turned fully toward her, this indicates genuine interest. One commentator pointed out. Another countered. They're both seasoned actors. This could be a flawless execution of stagecraft. Yet even in the midst of speculation, there was a collective agreement. It was one of the most captivating on-screen kisses in recent memory. Fans flooded Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and even online forums in countries where Korean dramas were less common. Theories sprouted like spring blossoms. Some dug up past interviews where Lee Dong-wook had admitted to admiring Lee Sung-kyung's natural elegance. Recalled a behind-the-scenes clip in which she had brushed lint from his coat with a kind of tenderness that made the camera operator laugh. Every micro-interaction from the past year was now being reframed as possible evidence of something more. Hashtags trended globally, hotter than ever, Wook Kyung kiss. When fiction becomes reality. Fan edits layered the kiss over romantic ballads, looped it into GIFs, and interspersed it with dialogue from their drama. On TikTok, reaction videos multiplied, teens screaming into pillows, adults clutching their chests, some even wiping away real tears. While industry insiders began to weigh in. A stylist who had worked with Lee Sung-kyung that night told a fashion magazine. She seemed unusually quiet while getting ready. Most contemplative. But when she saw him backstage, her whole expression lit up. A crew member from their drama claimed that the kiss had not been in the original stage script for the awards segment. It was improvised after a whispered conversation between the two just minutes before walking on. Their respective agencies released statements that were as predictable as they were unsatisfying. It was a performance for the fans, nothing more. But the public wasn't convinced. It had been scripted. Why hadn't it been announced? And why, fans argued. Did it feel so undeniably real? Kis's impact on their careers was immediate. Lee Dong-wook's upcoming series saw a spike in pre-release buzz. Advertisers reportedly scrambled to secure Lee Sung-kyung for campaigns, hoping to capture some of the magic the two had conjured. The pair's popularity surged not only in Korea but across Southeast Asia, Europe, and the Americas. Streaming platforms quietly noted a significant uptick in viewership for their past work. Yet with the adoration came the inevitable intrusion. Photographers camped outside their usual haunts, hoping to catch them together again. A photo of two figures, suspected to be them. Late-night restaurant sent tabloids into overdrive. While the image was inconclusive, the outline of a familiar coat and the shape of a silk scarf were enough for fans to claim victory. Still, both stars maintained their silence on the nature of their relationship. In interviews, they smiled politely when asked about the kiss, steering the conversation back to their projects. Only fueled more speculation. Were they keeping something private until the time was right? Or was the public simply seeing what it wanted to see? Among fans, the debate took on a life of its own. Some were convinced that the kiss was a once-in-a-lifetime professional moment that both had committed to for the sake of artistry. Others swore they saw an authenticity in their eyes that no acting could replicate. Friendships were forged and broken in the heat of online arguments. But one thing was clear, everyone, believer or skeptic, was talking about them. The kiss became a cultural touchstone. The kind of moment that would be replayed in retrospectives years later. It symbolized not just romance, but the rare alchemy that happens when two performers meet in a space where skill, chemistry, and perhaps something unspoken align perfectly. For some, it reignited faith in the idea of genuine connection in an industry often dismissed as smoke and mirrors. For others, it was simply a beautiful scene. Reminder of why they fell in love with dramas in the first place. And perhaps that was the point. Real or staged, the kiss had given millions a moment to feel something profound. It had pulled people out of their routines, made them pause, smile, and imagine a world that often moved too fast. That was no small gift. In the end, Lee Dong-wook and Lee Sung-kyung didn't need to confirm or deny anything. Magic was in the ambiguity. In the way that one kiss could stop time for everyone watching. And as they walked off stage that night, side by side, disappearing into the shadows beyond the lights, the audience was left with an image they would carry for a long time. Two figures, close enough to touch, close enough to whisper, leaving the rest of the story to be written in the hearts of those who had witnessed it. Thank you for joining us in reliving this unforgettable moment between Lee Dong-wook and Lee Sung-kyung. A kiss that stopped time and captured hearts around the world. This is Red Carpet Revealed. And we can't wait to bring you more dazzling, heart-stopping stories from the world of stars. Until then, stay tuned, take care, and we'll see you in the next video.